Hi everybody, this is Lynn from Creative Concept Crafts with this week's release, and it's a fantastic kinetic card, our magic iris card. So it's been a little bit of a tester for me, but I've got there in the end. So this is the card that we're going to be creating. There's two in the collection. You just pull down on the arrow and it gives you a super reveal inside. So it's really, really cute. It's just exactly like a camera lens apparently, so my other half tells me. So we have a matching box and a matching envelope box. That envelope box is actually going to match the card that we're about to make. So we're starting off, there's two versions. There's a rectangular version and then there's also a floral easel version. But the actual mechanism, the magic iris part, is the same make for either of the cards. So you need 3 circle pieces, which are here. One of them has got cutouts in it. There's the mechanism part, which you double up. There's a little piece to add on to that that's not shown here. 3 pieces that you add to glue the circles together, and then there's the 3 little sausage pieces that have got little crosses cut out at the bottom, and that's for glue placements. So we'll talk you through it as we're going. So we're going to start off with the circular piece with the little cutouts. Take one of the sausage pieces and slide it, the little pointy bit, through the hole, and then line up the sausage with the outline of the circle, both outside and inside. Okay, so you're lining everything up. It slides back and forward, but you're just popping it through the hole. Just a little sort of, it's like a hinge piece. Pop the next piece in exactly the same way. So the little piece that you're pushing through goes underneath the back end of the last sausage, if you know what I mean. Okay, so again, just lift the end up, pop that little clip in place, and then you're lining up all these pieces. There is a little lip that you'll see just sticking out. That is the lip of the mechanism. That's fine. That will disappear once we move further into the construction. But for now, just make sure that you're lined up on the outer and the inner rim of the circle. And where you've got those 3 little crosshairs, you need to put either little circular or square glue dots, or I don't have those, so I'm just using foam tape. It's 1 mil thick, and you only need a tiny little, about 1 mil square about 5 millimeters in size, but 1 mil deep. So I'm just popping that over the little crosses that you'll see when you cut the little sausages out. So I'm just popping the 3 pieces into position, sticking anywhere where I want it to go. And because the mechanism takes a little bit of hammer when you're moving it up and down, I'm just, for added security, I'm going to add a little bit of glue on top of that. The other thing is, use a decent weight card. I tried a lightweight card and it doesn't work. This is 220. It's my favourite linen cardstock, and this works fine. So you're going to take the second circle now and pop it over the top, again lining up the circles all the way around the outer and inner edge, and just push down on the parts that you've just put the sticky pads and the glue onto. I'm just lining everything up there, just making sure it's all there before the glue sets. Now if you want, you can stop at this point and just add a little bit of weight. That's a critical piece, so if that moves, then the whole thing falls apart. So in the meantime, we'll move on to the card section. There's the camera with the 3 little pieces. So we're going to add the little pieces onto the camera for the front. This piece actually overlaps. It's meant to. It fits round the outside, but then there's a bit that overlaps towards the inner part, and that's just in case you've got anything that doesn't just quite line up. It'll hide a multitude of sins. Can you see the rim there on the inside? So I'm just going to add the other 2 little pieces. This tiny piece is sort of where the button would be on a camera. As ever with tiny little bits, I always resort to tweezers to get them into position. And then the long thin bit goes to the left of the circle. You're right as you're looking at it. And just popping that into place. I've used a little bit of glitter cardstock here. It's a great card for a guy, is this. So now that's ready to be added to the front of the card. So we can add glue to that. And the sentiment that I've put on the front of this is, some birdie tells me it's your birthday. And on the inside, peekaboo, just for you. Or the other alternative I've put in there is many happy returns. Now I use these Stabilo pens for the text. They're a 0.4mm fine nib, and I've found they're absolutely perfect. I use 3D Fun Cuts universal pen holder with those, and they work an absolute dream. I love them. I've got all the colours in the set. So that's been, again, I've done the text. If you're wanting to change that text, there's actually a little circle with a dotted line, so you would know where to place. And if you wanted to replace what's in there, you've got the option there. Just ungroup and you should be able to alter it. There's the card base. I've gone round the edges on the scoreboard to give me the bevel edge. I've done the same on the piece of paper that I'm adding here as an insert, which you could either stamp into, write on, put a verse on before you add it. Just putting a couple of inches of thin double-sided tape here just to hold it in position. And I'm just going to add that to the inside of the card. I've gone with the contrast to match the front of the card here. So once you lift, that opens with it. And I'm just burnishing down to take the spring out of the card. Now we can add the matte to the front of that, and this is what the iris will reveal when you open it. And just pop that into position. Again, just matching up that beveled edge. Okay, and again, I'm just going to burnish down from the inside to make sure that glues down. Now we're going to go back to our iris piece. So we've done the first part, flip the whole thing over. So you've now got the holes on the underside. And there's a little dotted line all the way round the inside, and there's also some very small triangles. Dotted line again. These little pieces go in between that dotted line. So you're going to add glue to the width of the dotted line and to the outer part of the circle. So there's 3 of them. So look for the dotted line, put your glue on one side, then on the other, and just fill up in between. And the 3rd one, same thing, looking for the dotted line, line up and just pop the glue on. Now we're going to add these pieces which are equidistant between the little mechanism. So make sure again that these are burnished down. Just flipping round and adding each one. So you're lining it up to the centre and then gluing out to the outer edge. So that's the 3 in position. Once you've done that, flip it over again. I'm just burnishing down again, make sure it's all housing. And you're going to look for this little odd shaped piece. It's a different shaped piece on the flower card. It's just like a little piece with a circular edge. You're gluing half of this, and I've also put an extra piece in to double up. The pulley needs a bit more strength. So after I did the video, I've added an extra little piece. Just tack it on to the end here at this point before you put it onto the card. Now when you're putting that piece on, you're lining it up with just a tiny mil or so between the edge of one of those pieces. Can you see it just clears the edge at the bottom? Okay, and lines up to the centre again. Now we need the 3rd circle. That's just literally just going to pop on top. Okay, again you've got to keep all these circles in line, and I'm going to glue now the little extension pieces that we added. Just glue what's left that's sticking out. Okay, so when you lift up, you're not showing the mechanism there. The mechanism's underneath. So make sure you get it the right way up and that you've made the flip. Line up those circles, and then you're just going to lift and fold over in towards the centre. It doesn't reach, there's a couple of mil gap, and you don't pull it too tight, just fold it in, allow that depth, the space. It's probably about 1/8 of an inch with the 3 thicknesses, and again make sure that those are burnished down. And that is, believe it or not, the mechanism completed. It's a bit awkward to get the mechanism moving. If you need to, just open up the spaces a little bit. Okay, so these are now ready. If you look, I've also folded down the little corners, and when you're putting this onto the card, close up that circle before you add it. Okay, I'm showing you here open for placement, but when you actually add it to the piece, you need to add it with the unit closed. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is add this to the front of the card. So this is just a simple glue all the way around. So you're just going to add that. The little arrow fits in the middle of the little cutout on the front panel. So make sure again that everything's pushed down. I wouldn't try doing any pulling of any mechanisms until your glue is dry. So we need a little bit of support here, and I've added 1 row of foam tape. You could quite easily add a second row here. This is about half. It works, but I think you could add a second, unless you've got 2mm foam tape would be perfect. This is only 1mm. I've only added the 1 row, but I think I could have added a second one. Make sure it doesn't get caught on any of the mechanism or any part of the circle as you're putting it on. Okay, so I'm just trying to make sure. Now, can you see I've folded those little nibs down? They were sticking out, and there you can see the mechanism working now. Okay, so those nibs are folded down in towards the center of the circle. Make sure as you add this that you close the mechanism before gluing. Close the mechanism before gluing. And you're going to add glue to all except any of that sliding mechanism. Okay. Close the mechanism before. I've left it open here. It needs to be closed before you add it on. Okay. There, I'm just showing there's a dotted line there, so if you were wanting to change the text, or that's what you're lining up to, which is why I've left the mechanism open, but you do need to close it before you actually add it to the card. So remember, this is showing it open, close the mechanism. Okay, there we go. 1 magic iris card completed. Isn't that sweet? And there we go. So there's the card. We have matching envelope box. We have a box which matches with the card that we started at the beginning, which I did in blue. So that's the first part of the video, the first collection, which is the rectangular. Now we're moving on to the floral. And again, I've cut out the base pieces, I've folded the score lines, I've got all the mats and layers prepared. The ones with the little edge off the circle are the base pieces. Again, I've done some text on this. There's the 2 little stoppers. We have our reveal. We have a facing for the iris and a decorative panel. So we've just got a little bit of matting and layering to do here. Just whizzing through this a little bit. So again, there's about 1/8 of an inch mat between each one. So this is the reveal. You only remember gluing half of this. So what I do is roughly put it into position and then just get a pencil and just mark it just inside the halfway line. And then you know where you have to glue. The other thing is it makes sure that your text is straight as well when you're adding it. Get your little scallops lined up and then everything will fall into place. Like I said earlier, the iris mechanism is created exactly the same way as for the rectangular card. So that's it. I've already prepared it. This is a slightly different shape, as I said, to the previous one, and I'm adding again the little strengthener onto the edge. It does, with the weight and pulling down, it does tend to bend, so if you put an extra piece of support inside of there. They're great to play with, but make sure they're strong enough. And I'm just colouring in. There's an arrow cut out in there. I'm just colouring that little bit in. And then it just gives people an indication there's an arrow pointing downwards, and hopefully they'll realise that they need to pull the little arrow to move the mechanism. Like I said, they are a little bit sticky to get moving, but just ease the pieces, the 3 layers apart, and you're pulling it away obviously from the little pieces that have folded over. So you're pulling it from one of those to the next one. So I'm just going to add glue now to our facing piece on the top. Just pop that into position, and I've done a pretty little decorative panel. I had to have a little bit of bling in there, girls. So again, this is ready to go on. Make sure that that mechanism is closed when you're adding. And again, all these little matte layers will line up. Make sure those little nibs are facing down towards the centre of the circle. And remember, don't put any glue near that running mechanism or the little pulley piece. So you've 3 pieces to avoid on the back, plus the little bit that sticks out. Don't add any glue to that either. Okay, so I'm just going to pop this flat to get it into position. Just line up your mat, and then you can pop it down to burnish down. There's our little easel pieces to prop the easel up. I've got loads of little bits here, but just putting a couple of them. It'll just go into the centre of Special Friend. Again, you can change this text if you don't want it. But I'm just going to pop it into the centre. And as the text inside of this is, if friends were flowers, I'd pick you, I have to add a few flowers onto the front. So I've selected the fuchsia, and I'm going to put a leaf and 3 flowers to the opposite side of the pulley mechanism. So I'm just going to hot glue these into position. And I've got 3 sizes of fuchsia here from, I think there's 5 in total. I can't remember now off the top, but it's the 3 smaller ones of the collection. So just popping those on and stringing glue everywhere. Doesn't matter what I do, I always get covered in it. And the 3rd one. Glue, 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 glue. And there's our beautiful little flower easel magic iris card. So there's the flower. Again, I've done a matching envelope box and box. So that's the flower collection. I'm bringing back in the rectangular collection, which is male orientated for sure. But depending on your colours, I'm sure if you wanted the rectangle, you could do it for the girls as well. The box, and just at the front there, an envelope box. So 2 more great collections this week. Hope you've enjoyed them. Until the next time, bye for now.